Producer Joey here. Well, The Athletic made a report recently of a lot of the fees that FIFA is imposing on host stadiums and countries, or fees that they incurred on their own. $25.8 million to build a jail in Kansas City, $57.8 million in lost tax revenue from Missouri, Georgia, and Florida because of how they distributed their tickets, $15 million for a broadcast center in Dallas. It left me with the question, is it better to be a city that actually doesn't host the games but benefits from tourism? To get the answer, I talked to Professor Matt Winkler from American University. Here is what he had to say.
Well, there's a compelling. Do I look right at you or right there?
You're good with
Okay. And obviously, it looks like FIFA, gets all the money and doesn't pay any of the expense. Well, that's sort of true, and they've been doing that for almost 100 years. So it's baked into a little bit of the bid, and it's baked into a little bit of what people know they're getting into. But this year seems spectacularly. It seems spectacularly unbalanced with the amount of cities and the amount of infrastructure that needs to pay for that the cities and states have to pay themselves. If you look at the past 4 World Cups, they were very much nation-building events.
Right.
So it all built their sports stadiums, built their transportation, helped build their soccer stadiums and other infrastructure there. America was special in that all of our stadiums were built and had hosted major events, including the NFL, which is as big an event as you get. Yes. Obviously, there's different policies and procedures in World Cup events, different security, and then obviously a lot different and more diverse audience going to this game. And then there's the tourism play. Yes. That hasn't developed as much, which has been fascinating also. Really? That's probably the second most fascinating thing. Only 16,000 tourist visas were applied for this year. 16,000 tourist visas to come to their game, right?
Wait a minute. So, but you get the sold-out crowds for the Ecuador game yesterday in Philly. Are those all people who live in America and are from Ecuador?
85-90% of them are already here.
Wow.
They're already here, right? Right, and that's another America people don't understand.
Yeah.
Those people are already here. They already, are dialed in to probably their local MLS team.
Yes.
And, they have go back decades of going to World Cup games and generation after generation. So many of them go to World Cup games. The special ones are obviously Brazil and Argentina, where, 10 to 20,000 to 40,000 in Qatar, Argentinians, Brazilians came over for those games. And often they spend 4 years saving up for the next trip. Now, this is the biggest World Cup ever, 48 teams, 16 stadiums, 104 games. So there's been no sporting event in the world like this that we've ever had. And maybe America is the only ones that could host it.
So it's kind of the diaspora World Cup. I don't think that could happen at any other
That's
country.
the word always used. That's the word that everyone uses, right?
Wow. So
many of them are are here already. Yeah. And so that's why you get, 50,000. Colombia was there. Maybe 50,000 Colombians last night in Philadelphia to watch them play. I mean, that's amazing. And I bet a lot of local officials are really.
Well, one especially weird thing for me has been seeing the look inside Lincoln Financial Field, which we can't call it that, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, which you can't call it that. All the sponsors have been removed, but I still saw one Eagles logo on the broadcast. Is everything really wiped out of there, making the stadium sponsored?
Part of those huge contracts you have to sign to have these says it has to be a clean facility. And so within 15 days of a game, the first game, you've got to wipe the names of everywhere on the parking garage. Everything is changed from the corporate sponsor name to the city name. Yeah. And so that's happened in every country. But the U.S. is really special for their naming rights of all their stadiums. Yes. And so part of that contract you sign is that you wipe that. And so the media value that these stadiums and their sponsors aren't getting, it was over $500,000 at least.
Chicago chose not to host this year because of, why? The financial thing that we mentioned earlier?
They have a very progressive mayor. Bless his heart, he's probably going to apply for, or he's probably going to run for president. So their mayor, yeah, he knows the business, right? He worked with Obama. He understands economics, so forth. And they looked at it, state of Illinois, main city of Chicago component, and just saw what they were going to have to give up. And economically, that's just not something they wanted to give up, which is ironic because they're looking for a new stadium. The Chicago Bears, their main tenant there, is looking for a new stadium.
Yes.
So there actually would have been an interesting positive public relations play on that stadium hosting this and them keeping the Bears playing at Soldier Stadium in downtown. And so it's very interesting, some of the politics at play here. And keep in mind, this stuff was done 4 years ago. So it was 4 years ago they had to make these bids, sign these contracts. And then 3 years ago, all the FEMA people toured all the stadium candidates. And there's another city that didn't get the games.
Well, if you were Governor Larry Hogan 4 years ago, and we could assume it would have been in Landover, it would have been called like DC/Maryland Stadium or whatever, would you have pushed hard to get it or not?
I probably would have for the legacy components for Washington, D.C. Yeah, D.C. just didn't have its act together, 4 or 5 years ago. And then they regrouped a little bit. Oh, and sorry, you know why, because, the previous owner of the Commanders, Dan Snyder, didn't keep the upkeep going. He had a bad reputation. This is several years ago. And so the DC area was in they were in kind of a bind, right? It was a Maryland thing. Then they didn't think the stadium was up to date and had a bad reputation. And so then they brought in Baltimore and made a co-bid. And by then, the toothpaste was out of the tube, and Boston had a better, Boston had a more attractive bid. Yeah. So Boston got the one we were supposed to get.
The Baltimore question was interesting because that would have been kind of in the larger BWI area that you could have claimed was the capital city thing, but was in a more functioning stadium than FedEx. So that's interesting.
Yeah.
It was too late to get their act together on that.
Yeah. Just people forget how far in front these things happen. I mean, they are, you get your bid team together 10 years before anything starts. And DC had been burned a little bit by bidding for the Summer Olympics.
Yeah.
So we got a little bit burnt by that. And it was a tri-state thing, a DMV thing. It would have been spread out. They had a great bid 20 years ago, but the politics were different then. And then it became Chicago, then New York, and then obviously LA was a natural fit. And again, a lot of these events went to developing nations, nation-building things. So it was a different environment. In the 90s and the early 2000s, U.S. had all the big events. I know I worked as a press officer for them. And then they went to developing newer countries overseas, and now it all swings back here. So the next 8 years is the greatest run for any country of major events. So we have the 2026 World Cup, 2028 Summer Games, LA, 2031 Women's FIFA World Cup, 2 Rugby World Cups, men's and women's, and then 2034, the Winter Salt Lake City Winter Olympic Games.
Yeah.
So it was one of the great runs. This will be one of the great runs of all time.
All right. And in 250 years. Well, thank you so much, Professor.
That's all you need?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Great.
Unless you want to do a jersey swap.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.